one section in ODM that is supporting William Ruto. There is another one of Akina Sifuna, Orengo, Anyang, who are talking a different language. I see very serious attempt by the president to divide ODM. And you know, one time I asked him, when we were pushing Baba to go to African Union, and we were talking. We were not good friends, but we were talking. We would have a conversation. And I asked him, this Raila thing you are pushing, what's the head game? He said, fine, we want this Mzee to go to AU so that I can take over his block. I said, how will you take it up? He said, let's the ODM, I'll finish it, I'll destroy it, I'll take it over. And once Baba is gone, I'll have a few days, I'll get the MPs, everybody rally them behind me. That's what he told me then. And I think if Baba went, to a certain extent, he would have succeeded in dividing ODM. I don't think that is possible now, because I think Raila Odinga has built ODM for 20 years. I don't think, even if he wants to work with William Ruto, he'll allow him to destroy ODM. I think he'll still want to have ODM as a strong party. And if he wants to have a coalition with William Ruto, he would have ODM as a distinct political entity. What I would not understand is at what he would be in that coalition, because Raila's dream has been to be president. And by his status, even age, experience, exposure, he is presidential. I don't know what other role he would play in a coalition with William Ruto, but that's his decision. Once he makes a decision what he wants, then we can have that discussion. But I think it's premature now to because we don't know. Because I hear a lot of Kaluma, Junet, those they are saying that they are backing William Ruto. So I think it's premature to discuss whether he can be supported or not, because he has not decided what he wants. Once he decides and he says he is a candidate, then we'll sit with Kalonzo, we'll sit with Wamalwa, we'll sit with Mutembei, Matiang'i, myself and others, and we look at the whole scenario. And whatever suits Kenya, I want to, from my end, I'm very selfless. So is my community. Whatever suits Kenya, whatever formula that can work to restore this country, to bring back our country, to fix our economy, to fix our foreign relations. As we speak, we are in very bad state. And even, by the way, we had a very good candidate for the AU seat, Raila Odinga. But the president buggered it, by the way. You know, and I feel for Raila Odinga. And by the way, I wished him well. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I really wanted him to be the AUC chairman so that he can have a dignified exit. This is a man who has gone through hell. He has been in detention for 8 years. He almost lost his family. He's a man who has really struggled. He was championed the second liberation. He has fought for democracy. He was very instrumental in the 2010 constitution. I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, felt that if he became the AUC chair, it was a very dignified exit for a man who has given his life for this country. It didn't work because the government buggered it. By the way, had President William Ruto kept off that campaign, Raila would have been elected. All right. The minute he made, you know, people hate projects, not just here in the country, but even in Africa and the world. Raila Odinga was perceived to be a William Ruto project to take him to the AU to sort out his political problems in Kenya. And therefore, many African presidents had a problem with that, from what we gather. They said, we don't want William Ruto to dump Raila in AU to sort out his problems at home. So many people had a problem with that. Again, they were also not able to study the geopolitics in a proper manner and see how to handle them. Then the way the president handled the DRC issue, he rubbed many people the wrong way. Again, I don't know who advised these people. There was no need to take a cheering squad to Addis Ababa. You know, this election is a highly diplomatic maneuver. You know, whispering to the ears of presidents. Because it was very demeaning to African presidents to think that you can persuade them to vote for Raila Odinga by bringing a cheering squad, singing Bado Mapambano outside the hall. I mean, it was very demeaning to African presidents. So that was a diplomatic blunder. It was a diplomatic blunder. Okay. This guy who won came with only 4 people. Because these are presidents, these are people who make decisions based on many facts. You cannot persuade them by cheering, by bringing a crowd to sing around there and all that. And even many diplomats were very offended by Kenya, by the kind of show that they took there to Addis. So the way that thing was handled, they goofed in a very big way.
Since you're talking about diplomacy, I have to reel you into the predicament that Kizza Besigye is facing. And not just that. Recently, we've seen the Rapid Support Forces sort of mince their words in terms of whether they're forming a parallel government in Kenya or whether they're simply here to seek unity for the betterment of their country. What do you make of the diplomatic
I think in all fairness, President William Ruto has messed this country in the international eye. He's doing all the wrong things. We have a policy of non-interference with the affairs of other countries. We cannot allow rebels who have been slapped with international sanctions because of genocide to meet in government facilities in Nairobi. You have had Sudan now is threatening to stop our tea going to Sudan. And what is happening is that the president has put his personal and commercial interests ahead of the country's interests. That's the problem that we have. They are doing business with the RSF chief of gold that is being gotten from that area, brought to Nairobi and taken to Dubai.
And you can substantiate
Yes, I can. I have one time. And, diplomatically, the president cannot invite Ahmed here because he was vice president. And he asked me to invite him on his behalf. And he called me and said, sign this letter, invite Ahmed here because I want to have a discussion.
When was this?
Sometime 2023.
Okay.
And I did invite Ahmed and welcomed him and delivered him to the president. There was nothing about Kenya. They were just discussing business, about gold, about such other things.
You were in that meeting?
No, I introduced him and then I was told to leave because it had nothing to do with Kenya.
How do you know this then?
No, I'm saying if it had anything to do with Kenya, I would have sat through the meeting. But I'm the one who, after they were through, I'm the one who took him to the airport and I inquired and they are doing business. So it is putting Kenya in very bad light. Very, very bad light. And President William Ruto must accept that he will not be president forever. He cannot destroy this country and the way we are perceived by other nations. He must be a nationalist. He must rise above personal and commercial interests and put the country first. That group has been flagged by the international community and sanctions have been slapped against them for genocide and killing of children. But again, thinking about it, there's a saying that birds of the same feather flock together. They are killing children in Sudan, we are killing children here. So again, there's convergence. I think birds of the same feather flock together. But we are looking very bad. DRC, we have handled it very badly. And in fact, I am told many African presidents are unwilling to get involved in peace initiatives led by President William Ruto because he is conflicted in terms of personal and commercial interests that he has put above national interests.
All right, let's come back to the country. I'd like your take on the formation of IEBC because there seems to be progress after quite some time. Perhaps start off with telling us your take. Was a delay in formation of the IEBC by design or by default? Thereafter, what do you make of the process?
The delay was by design. President William Ruto wanted the conclusion of the AUC bid before IBC can be formed because the changes that were made in parliament, there is participation of political parties. He wanted to be certain that they are on the same side with the Raila ODINGA so that they can agree on the formation of an IBC commissioners that are friendly. He wanted to know whether Raila is on his side or not. So that is why that delay was there. And he's the one who was sponsoring those court cases to keep the delay going on. But I think after the international community raised the issues, he reluctantly allowed it to go on. I think now AUC has been the AUC is concluded. I think even the discussions in Mombasa is trying to see whether he can be on the same side with Raila ODINGA, so that probably if they are on the same side, they can agree on the commissioners that will be appointed. That's the way I see it.
Okay. Just take you back to the matters of diplomacy. Now that the United States is withdrawing its funds because President Donald Trump seems to put America first, can we survive on our own?
It's not easy. You know, those programs, especially on health, by USAID, were very, very, very important for our people. And those were serious funds that were coming into the country. Is a very serious gap. And you know, already we are struggling. You know, our economy is struggling even to fund, you know, to support our budget, you know, on the current and development expenditures. So the withdrawal of those funds for those interventions, especially in the health sector, is quite a serious beating to the country. I must tell the people of Kenya, we are having difficult time, and we just have to tighten our belts. Things will be quite thick as we move on, but we just have to struggle and see what to make out of it.
Okay, well noted. I'd like to bring your focus to matters that are facing the Kenyan public.
Yes.
You've already talked about the withdrawal of the rural and urban private hospitals,
yes,
offering SHA services. I think they mentioned that they'll only offer emergency services. Apart from that, they're withdrawing services from SHA due to that figure, the NHIF arrears that haven't been paid till date. And it's not just that. There are a couple of issues still in the education sector. And recently you mentioned that, you know, the State House at Nairobi is the epicenter of corruption. So talk to us about this in light of the challenges we're facing. What's the solution? We're not here to whine, we're here to provide solutions as well.
Rogers, President William Ruto said that he is a PhD holder. And the rest of us who don't have PhD should not tell him anything. I had some discussion with some people yesterday on Saturday night in Meru. And they were wondering if this is where PhD has reached us as a country, whether there is any need for anybody to ever aspire to have a PhD. All systems are destroyed. The health system has collapsed. Today, the private hospitals have withdrawn from SHA, and they normally take care of 47% of the country. So where do those people who go to the mission hospitals go? And this SHA thing was rushed because of corruption. The whole genesis of this program and why it was pushed down the throats of the people of Kenya without proper and adequate preparation was because of conflict of interest. There is a system, a management system for the SHIF program that is costing 104 billion Kenya shillings. That is the gist. That is money that people are taking, people in government. More than 80% of that money will go to people's pockets. The NHIF had proposed that they only needed 700 million to upgrade their system to manage the health system. Okay? So what has happened because of this corruption? There's a nation called Jaesh. He's the one who is behind this thing. He works with Adani on behalf of people in government. Because of that, the program was rushed without being thought through. There are people who are owed money by NHIF. Nobody talked to them. We just migrated to a new program without thinking through what it is. When we were campaigning, we had promised the people of Kenya that the ordinary Kenyans who are paying 500 shillings, we will take it to 300. What has happened? is that nobody can afford this system, and the system itself is not working. So, a government that cannot have a working health system, I'm actually happy to be out of this government. I would be very embarrassed if I was deputy president today. I would be very embarrassed when I meet old women and they ask me, you are the deputy president, we had a working health system before you took over. 2 years down the line, the system has collapsed. What are you? Who are you? I will be very embarrassed. In fact, sometimes I sleep here, I wake up at night, I'm happy I'm not deputy president, because I would not know what to explain to the people.
Okay.
So, we are having a crisis of monumental proportions in terms of our health system. And I really feel for the people of Kenya. I don't know what will happen now that the private hospitals are withdrawn from the system and people are paying through their pay slip and they cannot access health care. What do? I was talking to some policemen today as I came from Nyeri, and they saw me on the road and they said, Afandi, we support you. We are complaining even more than ordinary Kenyans. We cannot access health care. The teachers are complaining. You know, the teachers had a good medical system with some hospitals. And a decision was made to remove the insurance so that it's given to some hospitals owned by that Asian called Jaesh. Today, teachers are going to hospital, they cannot access medical care. Everybody is crying. The whole country is in tears. And it's just 2 years down the line, you know. And I looked at, I saw after the AUC, I saw a fellow who works for the National Intelligence Service, an MCA from Nairobi here, called Alai. He wrote a big post trying to blame President Uhuru Kenyatta that he is the one who campaigned Raila ODINGA at the AU.
Okay.
I want to tell those people of Ruto and ODM to leave Uhuru Kenyatta alone. Uhuru Kenyatta was president. His project did not go through. He conceded. He handed over power.
Yeah, right.
2 years down the line, you cannot keep on blaming him for every problem in Kenya. Really? Even when Raila ODINGA does not succeed in AU, you blame President Uhuru Kenyatta. President Uhuru Kenyatta left.
Let me reel you in back to, away from Uhuru Kenyatta, because we've talked about that. Let's talk about solutions. If Kenyans are to trust you with the leadership of this country, what would you do different?
First and foremost, Rogers, governance is about the people. The first thing you do if you want to govern well is to listen to the people and never assume them. Had we listened to the stakeholders in the health sector, we will not be in the hole we are in. The first thing we will do when we form government is to call the stakeholders and listen to them. And the people of Kenya, my brother, are very knowledgeable. We have an abundance of human resource in this country. People are extremely intelligent and very knowledgeable. But we have a government that listens to nobody. Nobody talked to people in the health sector. You need to talk to the doctors. You need to talk to the hospital owners. You need to talk to the paramedics. You need to talk to the nurses. You need to talk to the patients. You need to talk to the ordinary people. But I know that we could reform NHIF at a very small cost of less than $1 billion shillings and just improve on what was already working. You know, the Englishmen say, if it's working, don't fix it. Would have just taken NHIF the way it was.
So that's what you'll do?
Yeah. Take NHIF from where it was. Talk to everybody. Talk to all the stakeholders. Because they know they are the people in the medical world.
Then what do you do about the proliferation of funds through NHIF? Because this was an issue, not just...
That is what we should have dealt with.
Okay.
You don't, if a leg has pus, you don't cut it away and throw it away and look for an artificial limb. You try to find why there is pus. So what we did is that we said because people are stealing from NHIF, we throw it out and bring a new system where you steal upfront. Because that is what is happening with SHA and SHIF. We are stealing upfront. 104 billion. That That is stealing upfront. And this money for SHA is being taken to a bank that has been bought by the powers that be. Even money for the housing program is being taken to a bank. We'll be giving details soon.
Don't have those details now.
I have them, but I'll slowly. You have to keep it. We can't give Kenyans everything every day. The money for the housing fund, because one, the Ministry of Housing has no capacity to absorb those funds. The PS was saying they have made 2 billion shillings. Why are we deducting people money from the payslip to keep it in the bank? It's very insensitive. We started a levy fund without an infrastructure to absorb the money.